Electrocast.
There's a change happening in the way we live, the way we work, the way we spend our money and make our decisions. We are evolving to be more conscious in our actions in a way that serves the world and makes it a better place. Welcome to the Ethical Evolution. The Ethical Evolution podcast is brought to you by the Ethical Change Agency. I'm Bindi, CEO and founder, and I am honoured to bring you the stories of those who create change through paying it forward and giving back. Ethical business owners and holistic healers who are determined to create collective change in the world. Once we have a change in consciousness, and through collective change, we can become one. My next guest was recommended by another guest and is an international speaker, author, and property investor. Vicki Wusche started investing in property in 2008 and is focused on provoking empowering new thoughts about our financial futures and legacies. Vicki is still passionate about all things property related. She firmly believes that we are trained to think we will die young, but we won't. The doctors will see to that. So she helps audiences to identify and leverage their personal resources in order to create powerful legacies through their own form of non-traditional wealthy retirement. Spare time and travel restrictions notwithstanding, you would see her as a Scuba-diving Nonna, property mermaid and Excel-junkie. Vicki loves life and is grateful for every minute. I hope you enjoy connecting with Vicki as much as I did. Welcome, Vicki, to the Ethical Evolution.
Hi, Bindi. It's really nice to be here.
You're so welcome. Now, can you tell us about your background and who you are?
Yeah, it's funny, really. I feel like I've got this massive collection of T-shirts, and I've got the I was a single mother T-shirt. I've got the I was divorced T-shirt. Then I've got the really horrible I was redundant T-shirt, which is a yucky word.
I've got one of them.
Yeah. I mean, that's a nasty thing to say about anybody. Just because you can't afford to pay them, that's your issue, not the member of staff. But then I've also got a collection of really nice T-shirts. So I've got best-selling author T-shirt, property investor T-shirt, business mentor T-shirt. I've got a Nonna T-shirt because my dad was Italian, so I'm an Italian grandmother of two. That doesn't mean to say I am fairly round, but I'm not very round and I don't wear black. And then I've also got a really interesting one, a property mermaid T-shirt. So I love scuba diving, absolutely love scuba diving. But of course, we've curtailed that. So my latest T-shirt has been wannabe lockdown gardener expert.
You better come over and help me with mine.
Yeah, doing a mean tomato at the moment.
Ooh. Now, for those listening, you're based in the UK.
Yes. Yeah. So if you look at the map of England, I'm slightly below and to the left of London, very close to Heathrow, if you know Heathrow. Mm-hmm. But if you want to be posh, I'm in Surrey, darling.
Oh, you're in Surrey, darling. Lovely.
I'm in Surrey, darling. Yeah, just by about an inch, but I'm in Surrey, darling.
Now, tell us about your books.
Okay, well, yeah, you can see that I'm quite a chatty bird. So this started off as a challenge from one of my mentors about outsourcing because I'm also quite of a control freak. I like to know that things are going to get done. And if you and I make an agreement that we're going to do it, I want you to do it. So I was having real difficulty with this outsourcing and virtual PAs and everything else. They said, right, you need a project. Why don't you write a book? Okay, fine. I'll write the book and I'll do that. And that was back in 2010. And I had no idea. I don't even know that I knew that it was really a book when it started out. I'm saying write a book, but it was a project really. And then it turned into this book. And so I ended up with 500 books, written, edited, the front cover designed, printed, and in my front room. But they weren't on Amazon and none of this stuff had gone on. And I'd got no idea how this fit into my business. And I had no idea how to market them. But that didn't stop me. And so that first book, I've gone on to rewrite 4 issues of it now. And that's called Using Other People's Money, How to Invest in Property. And it's actually the story of the strategies that I've used and now some of the strategies that I haven't used and what worked and what didn't work in property. And then I've gone on to write a few more property books. Then I wrote a fun book of starting with the idea of if I ruled the world, which is quite a theme of conversations that I have, what would the world be like? And then writing the story from the future, thanking myself in the past for all the things that I did to create this amazing new world that the future is able to live in.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah, so that's called The New Estate. Again, I put all that effort into writing that one, and I didn't really, that was back in 2015, I think, didn't really market that, and it's just an ebook sitting on Amazon. And then I got more serious about it. Then I got some professional help with the books. So again, there was a new edition of Using Other People's Money, a new edition of my second book, Make More Money from Property. And then I wrote my third book, which was called Property for the Next Generation. And then in 2019, I did my fifth book, and this time I got it right. So straight to number 1, Amazon bestseller, in the top 50 for the whole of 2019. And that's called The Wealthy Retirement Plan, a revolutionary guide to living the rest of your life in style. The irony there is what it really should be called is, if you knew a pandemic was coming and you wanted to survive financially, this is what you should do plan.
Oh, much better byline. Much better.
Yeah, no. I might reprint it and go, that's what it is. But yeah.
Wow. Geez, that's a lot of books. A lot of books.
Yeah, but what it's done is it's meant that my beloved other half, Bob, has not had to put up with all of those words coming out of my mouth at him. And even this podcast conversation with you, I always think like all the words that I'm sharing with you, Bindi, or sharing with any of the other podcast guys that I've been on with are words that Bob does not have to listen to. That I can just share them with you, and then he just can sit there quietly for a bit.
Oh, poor Bob. So with all your books and what you do, there's obviously a flavour there around money and property and, the future. What would you say is your mission?
It's strange, really. It's not I don't know, it's almost too amorphous. I just want everyone to be happy, I think really that's what it is. And I wonder whether that comes back from, one of the T-shirts. When I was divorced, I wasn't happy. We didn't have any money. I didn't feel like I had, like a future, really. I don't feel like I had a future. There was no thing that I was working towards. There was no joy here, and there was no joy planned for tomorrow or for next week that I could get through today because the joy was coming tomorrow. So it wasn't any of that. And then when I got out of it, that's actually been really important to me to love the life I'm living today and to love the life I'm going to live tomorrow and next week and next year and so on. And I'm just so happy. I just want everybody to be happy. And I believe that if more people understood how money worked, now this sounds like so I've gone from happy to money, but because of the society that we live in, money is such a source of misery for people.
Absolutely.
And really all it is a tool. It's a word and a tool. And if you understood how it worked, we've kept it as this mystery. We don't teach it in schools. We're too snobby to talk about it. I'd never say to you if I met you early on, so how much do you earn? How much do you spend? Oh, okay, so you're doing really well. You've got a surplus each month. That's great. Or, you seem to spend more than you earn. Do you know that you're doing that consciously? We never have those conversations with people, but those are the conversations we need to have, and we need to have with our children, because you then wouldn't waste money on rubbish and stuff you don't need. You wouldn't accumulate drowning quantities of debt. You wouldn't be miserable because of all of this. You could work out the life you really want to live. You could then work out how much it costs to live that life and then create your financial plan to live the life that you want. And by that, as a byproduct, imagine if we were all loving life, we were all happy. I know it's idealistic, but it's my dream. And if we were all happy and living the life we want, then we would help other people, and we wouldn't have to be greedy, and we wouldn't have to be selfish, and all of those words could disappear. And it would almost be like that nanosecond we had in lockdown. And I don't know if you felt it in Brisbane, but that going out on a Thursday night and having a clap and appreciating the people that are there for us when we need them.
Yeah.
Meeting your neighbors, having a chat, all of the wonderful things that came out of that little bubble that we were in, recognizing what's important to you. And often it's family and friends and not the crap that you have around you.
That is so true. And you know what, I think that bubble that you're talking of, and I think it was late March, around April, that really happened. I know here in Australia around Anzac Day we really felt that, because we all went out into our driveways with a candle for Anzac Day instead of actually going to services. And everybody in the street was out in their driveway with a candle, and you could hear the Last Post playing. And that, I think, brought everyone together more than the actual services did. And, yes, isn't it funny how something like that brings us together even though we're apart? And, and I think there's so much around money that, I've spoken to a lot of money coaches, and a lot of them talk about money stories. So everybody's got a money story, and, it's related to the conditioning that they've had in their life. So whether it's, the way their parents manage money, or the way they were brought up, or the experiences that they've had through adulthood, that's kind of influenced the way they are with money. And it's very, very strange that we almost look at it as a taboo subject in social sectors, around a dinner table with friends. Like, it's not something we would, be open and honest about. And I think that has to change, because we could really help each other.
Oh, definitely. And then the thing is, you use this word, money stories, and these stories are things that people have told us, but no one's educated us. Where's the financial education?
Absolutely.
And it's almost as if, and I, this isn't a conspiracy in the slightest, this is just, I feel, laziness and inattention. But those with money understand how money works. And because they understand how money works, maybe it's never crossed their mind that there are other people that don't understand how money works. And they probably, to use your money story words, have had the money stories from their family. Really, that story is an education. So they've had a money story that's an education, whereas other people may have had money stories that are a diseducation.
Absolutely.
Or not even a diseducation, but a no education. All this stuff that we do at school, maths, and so many people have hated maths at school. I have to say I loved maths at school, and I do think that helped. But recognizing that the practical activity of maths, by applying maths to your life, you can make your life better, even though it seems like a very, rigid equation and everything else. Income minus expenses must be more than
absolutely
zero. And that's like those things that we used to do. And I feel like they're called a quadratic equation. 2x plus minus 1y equals more than z, which is 0, or whatever it is. And it's that. And if we understood that stuff, and going to the supermarket when they say buy 3 for the price of 2, and when you look at it, you've got 10p off, and the unit price was higher, or the special offer on the ketchup on the bigger bottle is more expensive than on the smaller bottle. And then you buy a bigger bottle, it costs you more, you take it home, you either eat more sugar through your ketchup, or you throw it in the bin because it goes off before you can finish it. And it's just waste. And then that You see, that's how it can ripple in. So then we wouldn't have as much plastic waste. We wouldn't have food waste. If we didn't have food waste, we wouldn't have to have intensive farming. If we didn't have intensive farming, we'd have bees. Maths could save the bees.
Can you just go and get into the school system, please? Because, this is the thing that's come up through the conversations I've had, as well as that in curriculum, in schools around the world, there needs to be education on finance, economics at a younger age and how it's practically applied in life. There's so much shit we learn in school that we never use just because others have done it. I get, I think when I was in primary school, we, set up a bank account and we would bank money every week with a little, money box, and that became your bank account when you became an adult. For many of us.
What, you did this in school?
Yeah.
Wow.
But they never, they helped you to put money in there, but they never actually helped you apply things like budgeting, economics, economy of scale, those kind of things. None of that kind of thing. Down to the practical kind of things like, how many groceries should I buy for this period of time for one person, or, just working all that stuff out. You don't get taught any of that.
No, and that's quite interesting because we've got all the students just going back to universities now, and our niece is about to go and move in today, and the neighbour over the road, their daughter's going off tomorrow, and the students next door have come in. And I'm just thinking about all these young people who don't know how to cook their dinners. I know when my daughter went to university, she spent the first 2 weeks teaching people how to use the washing machine. There's just so much stuff that goes on that's so ridiculous, and yet I don't know, they'll know sine and cos, or as my son-in-law is a PE teacher, they'll have got a good grade because they can hit a ball with a bat or throw a ball in a hoop, and yet they've got no life skills. And then this is what's wrong, that employers then turn around and go, well, great, you've got a first class honours, but you can't open a jar, take the lid off of a jar of jam. Jar of jam. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you can't take that. You've got you can write me a dissertation, 10,000 words on the politics of something or other, but you can't take the lid off a jar.
Yeah.
And it's this sort of mismatch with what's important. But what's also been interesting is we've got this thing here called Extinction Rebellion. I don't know
same
if you've
here.
got it.
Yeah.
Oh, have you? So it's really quite interesting. I haven't picked up on whether they were doing it globally or not.
Yeah.
But so many young people, I mean, of course, what the press shows, what the news shows is the weirdo, sort of hippie one with the dreadlocks with his shirt off, obviously stoned off his face, dancing around, and they portray it as that.
Yeah.
But if you get behind that, what you've actually got is young people really passionately interested about saving the planet. But that takes money. And that takes a will to use the money differently. You can't use the money differently unless you understand how money works. And I've been speaking to some people, and I've got a friend who's setting up a group, because it's always this, well, what can I do personally? Okay, so I recycle, but then I don't actually know whether my recycled rubbish goes to India into a landfill and is just causing another problem, or if it's genuinely recycled. So what we've started doing as a family, and I don't know whether you do it, because when we went to Oz, we went to Coles and we watch Australian MasterChef. Oh my God, I love Australian MasterChef. But, putting all the fresh veg into a plastic bag and then tying it in a knot so that I can then carry it home conveniently. We don't do that anymore. We literally take and we buy them loose rather than in a plastic bag.
Yeah.
Buy 3 carrots that we want, that they're fresh, because mine were all very deformed and very sad looking, tasty, but very weird alien creatures. So buy the carrots that we want and just put them in the shopping trolley. And then, do you know what? It's not difficult to pick up 3 carrots and put them on the scales and weigh them, and then put 3 carrots into your, long life Hessian bag at the other end of it. And what can we do? Just these small things. But am I really making any difference? And actually, maybe what I can do bigger is start to look at where I put my money. Who do I buy from? Who do I buy from? Now I can start to influence the performance of a company through my buying decisions, but I can only do that if I understand about money. And I can only do that if I'm in the luxury position of having the money that I can make the decisions to do this. Because frequently at the moment, you want to buy organic, it's going to cost you more money. You want to buy from the farm shop, it's actually going to buy you, you go to your Coles or your Tesco's or whatever shop you've got, it's cheaper there, it's mass produced.
Yeah.
The farmers aren't rich people.
No.
The reason they're doing intensive farming is because they have to maximize the yield of the land because they're being paid so little. So everything has got mass farming to produce mass amounts of food so they can go into mass supermarkets so we can buy too much so that we can throw it away. And if you can reverse your understanding of money and get yourself into a position where income minus expenses leaves you with a surplus, you can then make choices with that surplus money that you've got, either to more money into time to enjoy yourself or to put more money into things that matter to you, like choosing where you buy your food, choosing whether it comes in a plastic bag, that type of stuff, and that's exciting.
Yeah, and I think, again, the pandemic has helped to highlight this because for a lot of us, we haven't been able to travel far. So we've had to spend our money locally in our own communities. And I think now as we're starting to get beyond our little radius and we can get out into the more remote areas, we can actually help those farmers by actually going out with – we've got this campaign here called I think it's like empty esky. So you basically put an esky or a cooler in your car and you go out west and you go visit all the farmers and buy produce and put it in the esky and bring it home. So,
that's brilliant.
Yeah. So they actually have a campaign where you go around with an empty esky and you buy all the stuff and bring it home because we want to help local economy. So instead
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
So I think
we did it. Yeah. We did it through going to the farm shops and doing pick your own. So we went out and it's a great thing to do. So I maybe you're not getting the same quite buzz if you're going to the farmer to just buy it as opposed to if you pick it, but you're probably getting a nice day out by going out and going somewhere different for a change and change of scenery and all of that. But picking the fruits off the trees and putting them in your pallets and then coming home and making strawberry ice cream and freezing the raspberries so that we've got literally I have picked them that morning and frozen them, almost like we have a chain here called Bird's Eye that do the peas.
Yeah.
And they always bragged that the peas were frozen within so long of picking.
Yeah.
But what you're missing with a lot of this stuff is that they haven't let it ripen in the first place. So what we learned was, when you squeeze the fruit, if the fruit gives us, it's ready to come off of the raspberry bush or it's the blackberry bush or wherever, and learning how to take apples off the tree and learning how to pick cherries off the tree and all that sort of stuff, which has been really, really exciting. And then having that produce here, and it does taste different.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. Yeah.
But that takes money.
It does. And it does cost a little bit more. But, there's so many positives to, actually, looking at the way we spend our money in so many ways, whether it be our food or everything that we have in our homes. Sometimes cheaper isn't always better.
No.
Whether it be for a number of reasons, including the environment. I think we just have to be more conscious, and it comes back to having that ethical lens on things too, I think, which is what this podcast is all about, making sure that we are the agents of collective change, and every little bit we do matters. So there's a thing that really hit me when the pandemic started, and I did a video about it. It's on my Facebook page, where you're in Britain, I'm in Brisbane. What you do today impacts my tomorrow. We're all on the same planet. It doesn't matter whether you're around the corner or on the other side of the world. We can see from this pandemic, all it takes is one person's actions to change the world.
Yeah. Yeah. So true, isn't it? We are on a enormous rock hurtling through the sky, but we are so connected to one another.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And isn't this amazing? This technology that we've got. And I've been on loads of. I mean, we happen to be doing this on Zoom, but companies like StreamYard and all these other sort of companies that have come up. But how connected this is, because I don't know that you and I would have spoken if it hadn't been for the pandemic, because I would have been doing what I always did. I wouldn't then have gone, oh, well, I can't go out speaking in front of people on a live event. And again, even this has now become environmentally friendly, because
Absolutely.
I used to go out and travel all over the UK speaking at large events. And now what I've done in the space of, I don't know, how many months are we in? Say 6 months in, I think you're number 45 or maybe even getting close to 50 podcasts that I've done from the comfort of my home office. I've not driven the car. I've not used petrol. Actually, that saved me money, because I've then also not had to stay in a hotel and buy food away from home and all of those sorts of things. So I've reduced my costs. I've reduced my carbon footprint. I've connected with as many, but probably more people, because I'm not only connecting with you, but I'm connecting with all of your listeners. And also all over the world, because it's extremely unlikely, if we hadn't had a pandemic, that I would have flown out to Oz to come to your live event, and then that's good, because then I didn't use the plane either. But we're still having that conversation, that connection, sharing the insights and looking at the ways that we can do things differently. We don't have to do things the way we did them before. And if you have that foundation of feeling confident about your understanding, your control even of your finances, you can then feel brave to speak to your employer and go, I want to do things differently. I want to be able to work from home 2 or 3 days a week.
Well, it's changed the way we work as well. And I know for me, like we were talking off air, how I also work in a full-time job, and I now work from home 3 days a week. I love it. Absolutely love it.
And aren't you more productive?
Absolutely.
The thing is, it's a win-win for the employer and the world. So you're not driving, you're not using your car. We don't need all this office space. One of the things we've got in the UK, you're a huge country. I don't even know if you would have this same problem, but we really struggle in the UK with enough housing. We have people who are homeless, and that's beyond criminal. Why have we got people on the streets? We wouldn't need that. If we don't need all the office space, if we have half the office space we need, we could have all of those converted into homes. We wouldn't need homeless people. We wouldn't need to have overcrowded people. We wouldn't need to have people in poor housing conditions, because we would have enough of that. And on top of that, all of those companies that let all of that office space go, the owners of the office space would still benefit, because now they would be housing instead of offices, and all the businesses would benefit, because all their staff would be home being more productive. You just have to find a way to communicate. It's just, again, and we are so lucky. I was talking to somebody about when I started my degree. This is a million years ago. In 1992, I went to university. It may as well have been another universe. I first started typing my dissertation. I had a blue screen with a little flashing white dot, and I had to enter code in order to access something called WordPerfect, which was the ability to use a screen like a typewriter and then press a button and get it to print out the other side. And I couldn't save it on the machine. I had to save it on a little square disk and all this sort of stuff going on. I mean, we don't know how lucky we are. I think we don't recognize how much the technology could enable us to be this change that we want to be,
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah, and this is just the beginning. I think there's so much more to come, and like I am so lucky that I get to speak to people around the world about the change that they're creating, like you. Now, I want to know from you, and I know this is left of field. I didn't prepare you for this one. I want to know what your top tip is out of the Wealthy Retirement Plan.
I would say work out what really matters to you. And that sounds like an easy thing to say, but it's actually a really deep, introspective question. What really matters to you? And then write it down as an exercise. Don't just go, oh, yeah, of course, my family. Why? Who specifically? Why? And then else, who, and then what, and then why, and carry on and carry on and carry on. And then as you get into the flow of writing, you can tap into thoughts that were, further back in your mind, not front of mind, but further back in your mind. And you'll be amazed at what can appear on this piece of paper, because you'll start with the obvious, but then you'll get into stuff that really makes you go, yeah, I'd forgotten how important that was to me, because life was in the way, and I'd forgotten that I was passionate about this. I watched a program on the TV last night, and the character went back through their photo album, and they were saying how when they were younger, they used to protest and stand up for climate change, and then they got a corporate job, and actually the damage that they were doing in their job was so against their own original ethics, the core of who they were when they were younger. How did they get so disassociated with the essence of who they were? And can we go back? Can we go back and just explore that? And once you know that, once you can step back into those shoes, to own that jacket, to be that person that you are proud to be, you then have the motivation to do everything. You'll have the motivation to sort your money out. You'll have the motivation to make better choices. You'll have the motivation to go out there and connect with people that can support, encourage, challenge you, drive you on, hold you accountable, whatever it is in your life. And you can make those connections. I think that's a really powerful starting point for everything. Because if you don't know what matters to you, then nothing matters, does it?
Yeah.
If nothing matters to you, you merely become part of someone else's story.
That's it.
Because if you're not driving your thing that matters, then I'll use you as an employee for the things that matter to me, which may be completely opposed to the things that actually matter to you, if only you would stand up and own them.
And I don't know whether you saw my Facebook post today, but I think it's bang on with what we're talking about right now. And it was something along the lines of, whatever you give the power to has the power over you.
Definitely.
If you allow it to.
Yeah.
So it's really about taking that power back, and it's also coming back to your purpose. And I do a lot of work with a sound healer, and we had a recent conversation where we were talking about our purpose. And here I was thinking, I found my purpose. I know why I'm here. And she said, your purpose is to be you. And I went, oh. It was profound. It was just like you could have heard a pin drop. I just went, oh, I get it now. So when you are unapologetically you,
yes,
and you own everything that is your story and take control of it and power, that's where you make where you make true change in all aspects.
That's so fascinating, because I didn't see your post, because obviously you're in the middle of the night and I'm like still starting the day here. But I was on 2 calls yesterday. So one of the calls was with a woman based in Jordan who coaches senior leaders, and her name's Arij, and she helps people get the spark back, their joy, right? And another woman was based in Ireland, Mary, and she's a dress designer and everything else going on. And what we got out of our conversation is it's about giving yourself permission to be you.
Yeah.
And sometimes we find ourselves in situations in our lives where the people around us don't support us to be us. They're saying things. And I remembered, and I got up in the night because I had this idea and I needed to just type it. And then I went back to bed again. This thing of when I was at school, I was told I asked too many questions. How can you say that to a kid in school? Surely that is the purpose of education, is to ask questions. But, that felt like I was being put down. And how many times for a period in my life, I felt like people were saying, oh, you're too much, Vicki, you're too this, you're too that, you're critical. And then I went into university when I was 28 and my marriage had broken up and I got the kids 1 and 3. And then I found that I was in an environment that allowed me to explore who I was, to start to blossom really, and to feel more confident and more happy in who I was. And then I got into a work situation. And again, the conversations were sometimes about, you're too this, Vicki, you're too that. And then I got into property and I blossomed again. Then I started on the speaker circuit. And there was this guy who I worked for them for a year. And every month I would go and speak at their property events. So they must have thought that what I had to offer was of value. They'd introduce me. But the way this man introduced me every time is, this is Vicki Wusche. She's been doing amazing things in property. She can really tell you about how to set up a property business, but she's really scary.
She's scary.
And he would tell the audience before I even opened my mouth that I was scary, but that it took me ages. And then I would feel very apologetic and I'd make me silly, like, oh, yes, but I give really nice hugs. I'm not that scary. I'll give you a hug afterwards, honest. And it's like, and then that belittles you before you can stand into your space and speak your truth. And what I realized is it's about him. And so what you're saying is, all of our purposes are to be us. And if people are not supportive of you being you, now there's a caveat to this. Maybe you do talk a lot, but if what you say is of value, maybe that's okay. But do you stop and also listen?
Yeah.
Because they say one mouth, 2 ears. I know I never do that so much, but I'm aware of it. I spend my time putting a hand over my mouth. Count to 10 before you say something, Vicki, to give someone else in a social situation, give somebody else a chance to jump in. Take a breath, But if it's not something that is an observation designed to help you, further you, potentially challenge you, but in a way that pushes you forward, if it is something that is being said that is trying to anchor you where you are for the benefit of others around you, because they don't want you to move off and leave them. They don't want you to shine and leave them in the shadow.
Yeah.
Then don't allow that to happen in your life and move towards people who will allow you to shine and will shine their lights on you as you shine your lights back on them,
Exactly. Yeah. So true. So I know we were talking about ethics for a little bit there and decision making. So I have to ask you, can you define what being ethical means to you?
I think it's I would say ethical feels like true, honest. But now we've had that conversation, I wonder if ethical is actually more like authentic as well, in that, if you are you and you're being you, and I believe that everybody is essentially good at the start, at the heart, at the core, that if you are you, then you can't help but be ethical. Because you are a wonderful human being, that it just happens. You then don't need to be ethical, because by being the true you will be. You'll be authentic, you'll be honest, you'll be ethical, you'll be supportive, you'll be kind, you'll be all of these things. And then you don't have to then be ethical on the top.
Yeah.
Because it's there.
We wouldn't actually need that as an adjective anymore. It would just be.
Being human would mean all of these words.
Yeah.
But I don't feel that we're there.
No.
And therefore, to be ethical is this word that we can use as a measure that judges the decisions that we are making. Do they come from a good place with the intention of a good outcome for all that they impact on?
Absolutely, yeah. So I got to ask you, what are your future plans? Any more books in the works, or what's coming for you?
Oh goodness! Well, there's a couple of things. There is accidentally a book. I did say that I wasn't going to, having written what I wasn't going to write a book for a while, and my accountant goes, "Oh, don't don't keep writing books. Just, just get on and do normal stuff like normal people do. And then oops, it pops out.
Oops.
So I met a guy who's written a series of books called Me in a Minute, 60 Ways To. And so he's got 60 ways to improve your life in 60 seconds. And there's sort of 60 tips. And I was chatting to him because he's another podcaster. And he's part of this group. And I'll mention that to you in a minute as well. And he wrote this book and I went, where's your Me in a Minute, 60 seconds to improve your financial life? And he went, I don't have that. And I went, what do you think? And he went, yeah, we could do that. So we're now in the middle of co-creating those 60 chapters that are going to be, short, sharp things that you can follow, that if you just did one a day, within 2 months, you could sort of turn everything around for yourself. But the way that I met you is through being on a podcast with Reverend Cherie, who's out in the States. And Sid, who's done these books, and all of these other people. And I felt like I have met such amazing people that what I want to do is see if there's some collaboration, but co-creation that we could come up with. And we're looking at the moment at how we can create a Zoom meeting where we can bring the States, the UK, Europe, and Australia all in the same place at the same time. So there's that sort of stuff going on. So I'm doing that. But it's this idea of, is there some energy there that we can bring to bring this change, be it ethical or otherwise. But of course, then you've got your day job on the side of all of this, lunatic creation and coming up with ideas and podcasting. I mean, I did 4 podcasts, 3 yesterday and you today. So 4 podcast interviews this week. I'm still working with clients. I was speaking with a young guy just before this. He wants to start investing in property. So I'm still helping people learn how to manage their money and then invest their money so that they can then create sources of income that enable them to live the lives they want. And then who knows what they'll go on to. I'm still working with clients who've got existing portfolios that are struggling for whatever reason. Often they've gone down a path, and I refer to it as the merry-go-round. Someone said the merry-go-round at the fun fair was fun, and it is for the first go-round. But if you stay on, if you pay more money and you stay on, and you get your next job and your next job and your next job, you start to feel a bit sick after a while. And everybody else is off the fun fair and they're going off doing other things and experiencing other rides, and you're just going round and round and round. And so I have quite a lot of clients that have been on the merry-go-round and want to get off, or they're still on the merry-go-round. And just their life isn't as they wanted it to be. And so I help them come back to that essence of what really matters to you. Where's the clarity? What are you doing about your financial control? What resources have you got? And then how can you leverage all of this to create that life and that legacy that you want to live? And that is the 5 principles that come out of the Wealthy Retirement Plan.
Right.
Clarity, control, resources, leverage, and legacy. And when you follow that pattern round and you go round it again and again, and I even created an online questionnaire that sort of tests you against those 5 principles, gives you a score and a report. And you're welcome to share that with your listeners, and we can put those in the show notes afterwards. But if you just go to the website, you can do that. And it's just so, if you can become more consciously aware of your situation, you can make better choices and better decisions, and then have a better life, be happier, and then make a more positive impact on the world, So
absolutely. And I think I think that's the big center of what you would do, I would say, and that's awareness, because a lot of people are going through life with blinkers on when it comes to money. They really are. And I know for me, I think it was last year, I did this online course which was about money and manifesting and stuff like that. So ways that you can reduce your expenditure and bring in more revenue. And one of the first exercises was to work out your net worth. And I just about fell off my chair. And I was like, whoa, That was like the biggest wake-up call I've had in my life. And, 20 years ago, I was bankrupt because of the way I'd been brought up with money, and I'd not had that education. I tell you what, there's nothing like bankruptcy to teach you about money.
Been there. I got married and I was pregnant with our first child when my husband's at the time's business went bankrupt, and I've been on benefits, I've been in social housing, and I think sometimes that's because of the people that I've been with and their lack of education. But equally, and this is the taking responsibility, had I had the financial education, I would have recognized that they didn't have the financial education. And I think there are even some people out there. So, that grid that you could be unconsciously unconscious, then you can be consciously unconscious, then you can be consciously conscious and unconsciously conscious, that thing.
Yep.
That thing. Can't remember who that's by. But I think people are like that with money.
Yeah.
There are people out there that don't even know that they don't have financial education.
Yeah.
Then there are people that know that they're not financially educated. Then there are people that want to be financially educated and people that are financially educated. And how do you help people who don't have the language to ask the questions to get the help they need? And it was like that for me when I first started out in property. When I look back over my life, and this is the lessons hindsight can teach you. When I look over my life, property was there all the time, but I didn't have the words to articulate what this thing was that I was seeing. So I never understood that it was a thing. But you don't have that excuse now. We have so much. I mean, we didn't even have telly 24 hours a day. I am so old. We didn't even have telly 24 hours a day when I was a child. We did have telly when I was a child. But, it was just like the TV used to go off at times.
Yeah.
But now TV's on all the time. And there's so many programs that you could watch that the storyline would hint to you that there's something going on. There's the internet. We didn't have the internet when I was a child. In fact, we didn't even have the internet when I was in my late 20s. That's how old I am. But you can Google things now, and you might not get the question right the first time. You might not get the answer you're looking for the first time, but you can get there. There is no excuse now to sit in that little box going, oh, wow, I didn't know that I didn't know. No, you didn't care that you didn't know.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, And I think people do care. They just need to care about this more, about their life more, about their children more, about the future more, about the planet more than they care about just watching telly or buying the latest thing or playing a computer game or sitting on the sofa and drinking a beer or smoking a fag or whatever it is. The things that keep you down, you just need to care about other things, and the world will be your oyster.
That's it. It's so true. So if people want to find out more about you, Vicki, where can they go?
Well, I think the easiest thing is if you can spell my name.
Yeah.
So, which is a bit like you. So Vicki Wusche, Vicki, and then my surname is Wusche.
Yep.
And literally that will get you to my Facebook, my internet, my website, my LinkedIn, my YouTube, everything. And of course, if you find your way to my website and then you go vickiwusche.com, you can put in /scorecard, and you'll be in a position where you can get access to that online audit I spoke to you about.
Oh, cool, yeah.
You'll get some emails from me, but more importantly, you'll get a personalized report with your score and a list of actions that you can follow to start turning your life around.
Brilliant, brilliant. We will share those links on Ethical Change Agency as well, Vicki.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Now, I've got the last big question for you. I hope you're ready.
Yes, I am ready.
What's the change you would like to see in the world, and how can we bring it to life?
Well, I think that what I would really like to do is see more people being happy, getting more people listening to more podcasts like this, and starting to make that shift from being unconscious in your life to being conscious in your life, and taking ownership of who you are, and then looking at how you can both support yourself and others support you so that you can be the difference that you want to see. Yeah, I like that. Be the difference that you want to see. And you can be that by stepping up and being all you can be.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bees in there, but there's a lot of bees in there. But if you can recognize what's important to you, own that, take responsibility, grow it, nurture it, and be you, the best you that you can be, imagine the impact that you can have on the world.
Exactly right. And I think, if you look at any of the most successful people in the world, or successful, I'm using inverted quotes, they are truly passionate about something, and they do not waver on their focus or their determination on that. And I think whatever it is that the change you want to make, you've got to put all your focus in it, and your passion and your purpose. And
Absolutely.
And that's pretty much where you're going with that. So I think, I think if we all find our thing, that collective change is going to ripple globally.
Yeah. No, I really agree with you. And I think that that's just so exciting that I felt that this decade, last year, I felt that this decade was going to be an exciting decade. And I wonder whether Mother Nature has sent us this shock to wake us up, because we were just
Absolutely.
Yeah, not being all we could be.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to build on that. I think we've got to take this forward. I think we've got to be brave I was using the phrase Brave New World, and that's a book that has got a whole different meaning. But I think we've got to be brave so that we can create this new world that we want to see, because we have it in our power, and we've abdicated that power to those in government for far too long. And we have a society set up so that there are a group of people. If you're lucky, you actually get to vote for someone decent, but more often than not, it's just voting for people you don't really know. So many people don't even vote because they're disengaged. And then we give these people the power to make decisions about our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And they're making decisions but don't share the same values as us. But we can make that change from the ground up if we just step into our own selves and go from there, as we've said in the podcast.
So true. Well, yes, look at us go. Vicki, I can't thank you enough for joining us on The Ethical Evolution. It's been an absolute blast.
Oh, lovely to speak to you with Bindi, and I hope this is the first of many conversations that we have on and off of your podcast.
Oh, I think it will be. Trust me. Thanks for listening to the Ethical Evolution podcast. If you're an ethical business owner, change maker, or holistic healer who's determined to make a change in the world and you need support to spread your message, visit ethicalchangeagency.com to collaborate.
Hey there, fabulous souls. I'm Stephanie Baklaan.
And I'm Eden Alpert.
And we're the hosts of the brand new podcast, Unapologetically Fab.
Get ready to join us on an amazing and real journey as we dive into life after 40 and own it.
We're all about changing the narrative, leaning into who you are, and living a life by your own design.
Join us as we embrace life unapologetically and redefine success.
This is Unapologetically Fab,
an Electric Cast production.
See you there.
Electricast.
Hey, it's Tim from 50 Years of Music with 50-Year-Old White Guys, the comedy podcast you had no idea you needed. Join Ben, Jeff, and me as we continue our musical road trip back through the years and around the globe. See, just when you thought all white guys were like Joe Rogan, you come across three educators trying to remember when we were cool.
50 Years of Music with 50-Year-Old White Guys.
Electricast. Electricast.